You know, this Predator app, pretty good. Hey guys, welcome to Film Learnin, the show dedicated to learning you some filmmaking and learning you good. Today, we take a trip back to the 80s with some classic Arnie territory with this request from Dr. Gun Death Punch Facenstein. I'm not sure if you've done this effect already. I'm new to your channel, he was in July. But if you haven't, could you show how to do a cloaking effect like Predator? It would be a unique challenge, but I'm positive you can pull it off. Tee-hee, pull it off. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm using the latest version of this effect from the movie Predators. While it's no Arnie, it does have the best representation of the cloak effect. Right, Arnie?
You one ugly motherfucker.
Oh, that was mean. Now, in order to complete this effect, you need to shoot your actor on a green screen doing their thing, and then shoot a background plate of where you want them to be. Or if you want this to be, a giant pain in the ass, just shoot your actor and background plate on location and then rotoscope them out frame by frame. But since film learning is about making effects easy, don't do that. Okay, let's do this. I've already keyed out my actor and it's ready to go. So let's grab our background layer and drop that in too. Next, select your footage layer and let's right click and then pre-compose it. Let's move all of those attributes into our new composition too. From there, let's do the same thing with our background layer. Select it, right click and pre-compose. We'll name this one background 2, just to avoid a bit of confusion. Our next step is to open up our background pre-comp, head up to composition settings, and then we're going to expand the width and the height of the comp 100 pixels or so on each side. Once that's done, scale up your footage to fill in the new comp. I'll explain why we did that in a sec. In the meantime, let's head back to our original comp, come over here to presets and type displace. Grab that displacement map effect and throw it on our background layer. We'll turn off our top actor layer at this stage as well. Time to tweak a few settings. Firstly, change the displacement map layer to our actor pre-comp. From there, we'll change both the horizontal and vertical displacement to luminance. We'll then set both values to 20. You can set it higher or lower depending on the amount of detail you want on your cloak. The higher the value, the greater the detail. And since I like the displacement with the lower detail, I'm sticking to 20, gang. I'm also going to head to Effect, Blur and Sharpen, and add a camera lens blur to, soften the displacement and the background layer even further. But that's just a personal preference. Now, let's check out a preview. Not bad. Hard to believe it only takes a few steps to achieve this look, eh? The reason we expanded the background layer too, as the displacement map uses the actor as a reference to, displace. It essentially stretches the image around the reference layer. So if our reference layer and our actor are the same size comp, it would actually stretch the background image and you'd see the seams of the comp. So that's why we expanded the comp. So we've got the cloak looking all spiffy. Now let's work on the reveal. For the reveal, we've got a few more steps. First off, I'm going to turn our actor comp back on. Let's then head to the point where he triggers that cloak to turn off. We'll then duplicate the layer, hit Ctrl-Shift-D and delete the excess from the front. We'll turn off the initial actor layer for now, as the displacement map still needs that comp in its entirety for the reference. Right, to simulate the effect of parts of the cloak revealing rather than just one big whoomph, we need to isolate a body part with a mask. So let's do my big ass head and neck. Grab the pen tool and we'll draw a mask around the head and neck. Once done, we'll feather it out a bit, say 10 to 20 pixels should do. Just for a bit of housekeeping, we'll rename this layer head, and we'll rename our reference layer actor, just to avoid a bit of confusion later. From there, let's duplicate that layer and turn the bottom one off. Next, head over to presets and type find edges, and drop that on our new layer. Ugh, that looks terrible! So let's check that invert button. Next, head up to effect, stylize, and add a glow. Now, let's tweak them settings. We'll turn the glow based on the color channels, the glow threshold to 40.4%, the glow radius to 62, the glow intensity to 13.2, the glow operation to screen, and then we'll change this white color here to a bluey green. And our last step on our glow is to change the glow dimensions to horizontal. This gives it a bit of a flare out and looks pretty fresh in my opinion. The last thing we want to add to this layer is a bit of distortion. So let's head over to presets and type wave warp. Grab that sucker and drop it on. Once again, let's do some tweaking. Change the wave type to center, the wave height to -4, the wave width to 45, Have a play with the direction, mine's on 42 degrees, and change the wave speed to 2. It looks pretty stupid on its own, but once we blend it in, you'll see. To blend it into our head, let's turn off that edge layer and then turn our head layer back on. Next, hit T on the keyboard to bring up opacity. Hit the stopwatch and bring it down to 0. Scrub forward 7 to 8 frames and bring it back up to 100%. Scrub forward say 3 more frames and add another 100% keyframe. Scrub forward another 5 frames, bring it down to say 55, and scrub forward 6 more frames and bring that back up to 100%. This will give that feeling that the cloak has to power down and flickers a little bit. We'll then do the same with our edge layer. Turn the edge layer back on, change the transfer mode to add, scrub to the start of that layer, hit T, hit the stopwatch on opacity, crank it down to 0, scrub forward 3 frames, up that opacity to 100%, scrub forward 4 more frames, crank it back down to 0, scrub forward those 7 to 8 frames, push it up to 25, and scrub forward a final 6 frames and set it back to 0. Let's check out a preview. Not bad. Time to add the rest. To add the body coming in after the head is super easy. Let's just duplicate both head comps, rename them torso, collapse down the mask menu, and check invert on both. Done. Since we want the head to come in first, let's select both, hit T to bring up opacity, grab both sets of keyframes, and just move them along the timeline a little bit. And bam! Time adjustment complete. Now I will mention, if you want to make it a bit fancier and single out more parts to come in at different times, you can do this by duplicating both head comps, masking out say the iPad here, or an arm, and then animating that mask path to follow them. It's not any harder than that. Just make sure you adjust the timing of the opacity keyframes when you do, and it'll look sweet. Okay, here's our almost last step. Our layers are all faded in, so let's duplicate our head layer one last time. Collapse down that mask menu, delete said mask, and then we'll scrub along to the point where our actor is almost completely visible. We'll hit Ctrl-Shift-D to split that clip, and we'll delete the excess at the front. Hit T on the keyboard, and crank that opacity down to 0. Skip forward say 6 frames, and then set it right back to 100%. This essentially fills in any gaps in your feathered masks of your body parts. Let's check out a preview for our reveal. It's looking sweet, but it needs some of those little lightnings. In the description, I have a project file made up with some lightning all ready to go. So you'll just have to animate the origin and direction of the lightning to suit your particular shot. If you don't know how to do that, check out our Forced Lightning episode in the description below. It's really easy. Flash forward and I've added my lightning to the shot, and it's done. Add up all those steps and you'll get something like this. You know, this Predator app, pretty good. So that's the Predator Cloak effect. It's not hard, and with no third-party plugins to screw around with, it's easy on the old wallet too. If you're new here, get to the subscribe button. I make new videos every damn week. You can follow me on Twitter or on the Facebook page below. Don't forget to like and share the video, leave a comment or a request below, and as always,